30 developers just built the most awarded game in history, not the most awarded indie game, the most awarded game, period. 9 wins at the Game Awards, the record. Game of the Year at all 5 major ceremonies: Golden Joystick, the Game Awards, DICE, the Game Developers' Choice Awards, and BAFTA. Only the second game ever to sweep all 5. The first was Baldur's Gate 3. 8 million copies sold, and it was built by roughly 30 core developers for under $10 million. Here's how they did it. The game is Clair Obscur Expedition 33, dark fantasy RPG set in a belly-pock world. Think 1880s Paris meets existential horror. The paintress, a giant entity, paints a number on a monolith every year, and everyone that age or older simply vanishes. This is called the Gommage. You play as Expedition 33, the latest group sent to stop her. Turn-based combat, but with a twist I'll get to. The team behind it, Sanfort Interactive, started when director Guillaume Broche posted on Reddit looking for voice actors for a demo. He found his composer on a French indie forum. He found his art director on ArtStation. His lead writer was one of those voice actors from the Reddit post. This scrappy origin story matters because the design philosophy of Expedition 33 is the same as the development philosophy: do more with less. Figure out what matters and cut everything else. So the question isn't whether this game is good. The question is, what did 30 people figure out that studios with 1,000 people and $100 million didn't? Let me start with the core loop, because everything connects to it. You explore linear levels with optional paths that hide resources, side quests, and optional bosses. You fight enemies in turn-based combat. Combat earns you experience points, equipment perks called Pictos, and upgrade materials called chroma catalysts. You take all of that back to camp, where you allocate stat points across 5 attributes, equip Pictus, and upgrade weapons. Then you push deeper into the story. What makes this loop work isn't the structure. Explore, fight, upgrade is as old as RPGs. What makes it work is that every piece feeds the others in a specific way. Exploration gives you new enemy types that force you to rethink your build. Your build determines which optional content you can tackle. And the combat itself has a design decision so smart that it won 9 awards. Here's the big one. Traditional turn-based RPGs have a problem. On the enemy's turn, you watch. You just sit there and take the hit. Maybe you heal afterward, maybe you groan. Either way, the game is playing itself during half the encounter. Some games have tried to fix this. Super Mario RPG added timed button presses for reduced damage back in 1996. It worked, kind of. It gave you something to do, but it was a band-aid. Press a button at the right time to take less damage. The Paper Mario series refined it. The Persona series added baton pass to keep your turns flowing. These are improvements, but they all work on your turn. Nobody fixed the enemy's turn. Expedition 33 fixes the enemy's turn. During enemy turns, you actively dodge or parry their attacks in real time. Dodging gives you invincibility frames. You're safe if your timing is right. The dodge window is generous enough that most players can do it consistently after a few hours. Parrying is harder. The timing window is tighter, and different enemy attacks have different parry windows. But if you land a parry, 2 things happen. You earn ability points, which power your skills and ranged attacks. And you get a counterattack window, a free hit that doesn't cost a turn, so every enemy turn creates a real decision. Do you play it safe and dodge everything, or do you play greedy, go for parries, and risk taking full damage because your timing was off by a few frames, and the game escalates this across its entire runtime? Early enemies have slow telegraphed attacks with generous parry windows. You learn the rhythm. Then the game introduces attacks you need to jump over instead of dodge. Then multi-hit combos where you need to parry 3 or 4 times in a row. Then gradient attacks, powerful moves that consume a shared party gauge, adding a resource management layer on top of the reactive defense. The game keeps adding new defensive challenges without ever changing the core mechanic. You're always dodging or parrying, but the complexity comes from the enemy attack patterns, not from new systems. This single design decision does 3 things at once. First, it eliminates dead time. There is no moment in Expedition 33 combat where you're just watching. Every second is a decision. The combat is always engaging, whether it's your turn or the enemy's. Second, it creates a skill curve that runs parallel to your character's stat curve. Your character levels up and gets stronger. That's the RPG progression. But you, the player, also get better at reading enemy attack patterns and timing your parries. You're leveling up too. Third, it means difficulty scaling has 2 dials, not 1. The developers can make enemies hit harder, that's the stat dial, or they can make attack patterns faster and telegraph shorter. That's the skill dial. This is why Expedition 33's difficulty feels fair even when it's brutal. You almost always feel like you could have parried that. You almost always feel like the death was your fault, not the game's. The transferable principle here is simple and it applies to every genre. If your game has a passive phase, enemy turns, cooldown timers, loading screens, any moment where the player is just waiting, inject an active decision into that phase. Turn dead time into skill time. Players remember the parry that saved their run. They don't remember the menu option they picked on their own turn. The second design decision is just as important, and it's about depth. Most RPGs give characters different stats and different skills. That's standard. Expedition 33 gives each of its 6 playable characters a completely different mechanical system. Not different skills, different games. Gustave builds charge through repeated attacks, then expels it all for massive damage. He's a rhythm game. The more you attack, the bigger the payoff. Mela switches between combat stances that change her skills, her damage output, and her defense rating. She's a style ranking system like Devil May Cry, constantly shifting between offensive and defensive stances to maximize damage. Loon generates elemental marks called stains that enhance her next skill. She's a combo builder, string the right elements together, and the payoff multiplies. Sile stacks foretell cards on enemies, then detonates them for burst damage. She's a timing mechanic, stack too early and you waste potential, stack too late and the window closes. Verso gains perfection ranks based on how clean his combat performance is, how many hits he lands, how little damage he takes. He's essentially a no-hit challenge run built into normal gameplay. The better you play, the more damage he deals. Monaco transforms into enemies and uses their own abilities against them, with a spinning bestial wheel that modifies his moves based on timing. He's a wild card. His kit changes based on what you've been fighting. 6 characters, 6 systems. And here's the key insight. Each system is simple to understand but hard to master. You can explain any character in one sentence. But maining Melee for 40 hours gives you a completely different experience than maining Verso for 40 hours. The game plays differently depending on who's in your party. This also means the game gets 6 times the playtesting coverage for the same combat encounters. Every enemy needs to be balanced against 6 different mechanical approaches. That sounds like more work, but it's actually the opposite. Because each system is simple and self-contained, balancing one character doesn't break the others. They share the same parry and dodge foundation, so the defensive difficulty curve is universal. The asymmetry only affects offense and build strategy. For a small team, this is the most efficient way to create depth and replayability. You're not building more content, you're building more perspectives on the same content. The transferable principle, depth comes from mechanical asymmetry, not raw complexity. Build a few systems that are simple but different, and your players will find their favorites and invest in it. This works because players don't want more things to learn. They want to go deep on one thing and feel mastery. The third design decision is about progression, and it fixes something that's been broken in RPGs for decades. Equipment in most RPGs is boring. You find a sword with bigger numbers and you equip it. You find armor with bigger numbers and you equip it. It's filling out a spreadsheet. The numbers go up, you feel nothing. Expedition 33 has a system called Pictos, and it's the smartest equipment system I've seen in an RPG. Each Picto is an equipable item that grants a specific perk and stat bonuses. You equip 3 per character. So far, pretty normal. Here's where it gets smart. After you use a Picto in 4 combats, you master it. Mastering a Picto unlocks its perk as Illumina, a passive ability that any character can equip independently without needing the Picto itself. There are 210 unique Pictos in the game, which means 210 Luminas to discover and master. You allocate Luminas using Lumina points, which increase as you level up, and can also be found as hidden collectibles throughout the world. This transforms equipment from stat optimization into build design. You're not just looking for bigger numbers, you're designing a character build. A build focused on critical hits plays nothing like a build focused on counterattacks. A high damage glass cannon build plays nothing like a defensive attrition build. And because each character has unique skill trees on top of the shared Lumina system, the same Lumina build on Melee plays differently than on Verso. The same perk that boosts counterattack damage is a core strategy for a parry-focused build, but nearly useless for a charge-focused Gustav build. And the mastery mechanic, 4 combats to unlock, is a pacing trick disguised as a progression system. It prevents you from just looking up a guide, grabbing the best Pictos and equipping them immediately. You have to actually use the thing first. You have to play with it, feel how it changes your combat. and then the system rewards you with the permanent passive. 4 combats isn't grindy, it's not a barrier. It's just enough time for you to form an opinion about whether this perk fits your playstyle. That's teaching through play, not through tooltips. The transferable principle: make your progression system about designing builds, not finding bigger numbers. Players who feel like architects of their own strategy are more invested than players chasing the next stat upgrade, and gate powerful options behind usage, not level requirements. It teaches through play. So here are 3 things you can take away from Expedition 33's design, regardless of what genre you're building. First, if your game has passive phases, inject active decisions into them. Enemy turns, cooldowns, transitions, find the dead time and turn it into skill time. Second, build depth through asymmetry, not complexity. A few simple but different systems create more engagement than one complex system. Let players find their favorite and go deep. Third, make progression about designing builds, not chasing numbers. Players who architect their own strategy stay invested longer than players who just equip the next upgrade. Now, if you're building an RPG or any combat system like this, AI tools can accelerate the process massively. You can prototype Expedition 33's reactive defense system in an afternoon using Claude Code or Cursor. Generate the turn order logic, the parry and dodge timing windows, the ability point economy, all from a clear architecture description. Test build diversity by having AI simulate hundreds of combat encounters across different perk combinations to verify no single build dominates the game. The character asymmetry approach is especially AI friendly. Define the shared interface, the parry and dodge system that every character uses, then generate each character's unique mechanical system as a separate module. The Pictos mastery system is perfectly suited to AI-assisted balance testing. Define 210 perk effects, simulate which combinations break difficulty curves, and iterate in hours instead of weeks. A small team with AI tools could prototype this caliber of combat system in days. We're building exactly this kind of AI-accelerated RPG system inside AI Craft, with AI running combat simulations and verifying build balance across thousands of configurations. Come join the community and build your own RPG with us. Please feel free to subscribe and check out the links in the description below.